Now, correct me, you won the auction.
Yes.
So you're the highest bidder.
I was. So I was looking all over the United States for these interesting, unique properties that would be a destination property. Next day, I was at lunch with my friend. I get a call and I was like, excuse me, let me answer the phone. He's like, Ms. Butler, you have just won a mansion. It was the place where eccentric, well-educated women came to die.
Now, correct me, you won the auction.
Yes.
So you're the highest bidder.
I was. Which was,
I dare not ask because it
was pretty surprising because I had been looking at these distressed properties for a while and had already bid on one in Kentucky.
Oh.
And I bid the exact same amount and I was not the highest bidder. So I didn't think I would win this one. But honestly,
wow.
It's like you buy a lottery ticket and you set it down on the table and you kind of forget about it because, what are your chances of winning? And then suddenly you realize you won. So that was kind of the situation. Like I submitted my offer, I dismissed it, and the next day I get the call while I was out to lunch with a friend saying my bid won, and I was like, "What?
What? That's amazing!" And this is in Massachusetts. So, but previously you were living in California?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
I was living in Silver Lake in downtown mostly. I'd also renovated a house in Echo Park and MacArthur Park.
Wow.
So that was always a hobby of mine, renovating houses. So I started out, I moved to Los Angeles as a dominatrix.
From where?
From New York.
So you're a dominatrix in New York?
I started working in New York in 93. I moved to LA in 96. I needed to build a studio for myself. So I renovated this house in MacArthur Park that we called the Ivy Manor, which was kind of centered around my business. It was a 5,000 square foot, 3-story Victorian style house that looked like the Addams Family house. It was
wow. Wait, I know MacArthur Park pretty well. I live downtown. Where, on what street specifically?
Bonnie Bray in Wilshire.
Oh my gosh. Bonnie Bray. So you were right by the lakes then?
Yeah.
You had a view?
It was a block and a half. Yeah, I could see the lake but this was in the late 90s. I mean, the area hasn't gentrified at all.
No.
I thought that it would because a lot of the buildings around it were being redone. Some artist lofts were coming in, some cool bars were opening, but it's still not gentrified. So kind of glad I left that area. But I spent about 6 months renovating this house that had been abandoned. It had been squatted in, it had been abandoned. And it was a full renovation top to bottom. But there were a lot of things. So I renovated it. I didn't own this property. I was just, I got a really cheap rent in order to renovate it.
Oh,
and a 6-year lease.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those ridiculous rents where it was a 5,000 square foot building. I got it for $1,000 a month.
What? Oh my gosh.
I had to renovate it.
How much did you sink in?
Probably 22,000, I think, like between 22 and 25. And it wasn't that much in comparison to like dividing it out over the course of the 6-year period.
Right. And you doing all the work yourself?
Yeah.
Wow. Where did you get those skills?
Growing up without much money and needing to know how to do things.
Right. Mm-hmm.
When you don't have a lot of money, you can't always hire people to do things. So you learn how to do them yourself.
Right.
This was before the intro to YouTube, which is kind of like my construction Bible now. If I need to know something and I'm not quite certain, I go to YouTube and I start watching some tutorials. And even if I don't learn exactly how I need to do what I'm doing, I learn something about what I'm doing. So it's super educational YouTube.
Yeah. There's a couple of them there you learn what not to do, like where, do not do that. That looks ridiculous. Yeah. So once you get into, like I do, I feel like I'm in the Matrix now where it's like, hey, Tank, download me how to build a, semi-operational dishwasher. And then I just watch that YouTube instructional and then I go and do it.
Yeah. So I do a lot of the work myself. The things that I don't have a good grasp on are plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
Basic fixture changes, but if I need to repipe something, I'll save that for the professionals. Same thing with electricity. I can replace outlets, I can replace lights, but if I start rewiring things, I'm going to save that.
Yeah. You don't want to mess around going to 240 and burn down the house or something.
Yeah, silly things like that. Like I know where my skill set stops and where I should call it
So then, and you had a place in Silver Lake, you said?
It was built in 1918. It was a house on top of the hill that had also been abandoned. It was in the Silver Lake neighborhood behind the Whole Foods 365, like Silver Lake Boulevard and Glendale Boulevard.
Yeah.
It was up the hill behind it. It was a very nice neighborhood, but the property had been abandoned and there was a petition to have it torn down. And my real estate agent found it and was like, hey, this is going to go on the market before it's petitioned to be torn down. Do you want to try to buy it and renovate it? Yeah. So I looked at it and fell in love with it. It was like the best view. It was 3,200 square foot and it was completely gutted also. So I kind of had to start from the beginning. So I bought it before it hit the market with 5,000 over the initial. They'd asked for 600,000. It was in a neighborhood at the time that everything was comping at 350. I mean, at 850.
850. Yeah, that's a big fancy neighborhood.
So they knew I would have to drop a lot of money in to buy it. So I bought it for 605. I held on to that one for a while, lived in it for a while, rented it for a while, lived in it again for a while. And I ended up flipping it for 1.2.
Wow. And how much did you put in renovations on that one?
Probably about 250,000.
Wow. So you did that was full. That sounded like really structural too then.
The structure was great on it. There's no structural. I did all the outside landscaping, outside decking, retaining walls. The house, because it was on a hillside, the house itself was great. New bathroom, new kitchen, plaster work, roof repairs, the
whole thing. Wow.
And I never had a contractor on that. Like I hired people. I never had one single contractor. Like here, I have a contractor that I work with closely.
Oh.
There, it was like whenever I was ready to do something, I would save up the money to do it. And then I would call whoever. If I couldn't do it, I'd call whoever, referrals from people and get them to come in and do it. And then I piecemealed all the renovations over the course of 14 years, basically.
Wow. Wow. That's phenomenal. And so you learned so much. So then you're in the market. How did this Wheeler Mansion, it's like an Instagram thing, you said, or I read.
With my profession, I was trying to segue out of being a pro dominatrix. I wanted to be able to travel more. I wanted to be able to tour more. And I also host classes. So I wanted to be able to have a venue that I could host and have like retreats and things like that. So I was looking all over the United States for these interesting, unique properties that would be a destination property. I didn't care really where it was. It had to be about the property. I wanted it to be historic. I wanted it to be unusual. I wanted it to have some history. I wanted to basically create something that I brought people to.
Right.
For these weekend retreats and things. And I wanted to be able to buy something that I could turn into my own. You know, I didn't want to buy something that was completely finished. So I was looking at these websites that were Save This House websites. Like I said earlier, I had bid on a castle in Kentucky.
Wait, okay. I just got a picture of castle in Kentucky. What is that?
Right. I didn't know it existed either, but there is a castle in Kentucky that was originally on 45 acres. So when you look at the aerial view of it, it's just fields all the way around. And this castle was beautiful, but it was very rundown.
Yeah.
It was starting out at 48,000. Wow. So I got into it right when the auction started. I had 150,000 that I had in my savings account or my retirement funds. Like if I liquidated all of my stocks, everything, this is how much cash I would have.
Right.
And no more than that. So I submitted my offer. You had to show proof of income. So I had that. My finance person put together, my letter. And that bidding started at 48,000 and ended at 362. So wow. I lost it, obviously, and by a lot. And there was a lot of work that needed to be done. So when I looked at the pictures, I couldn't see this property. I bought it sight unseen, but I had my real estate agent drive out. He had to drive out the day that we were submitting the offer because they wouldn't allow me to submit the offer without somebody putting eyes on it. And I was in Los Angeles, so I didn't have the time to fly out and do it. And this all happened I saw it on a Sunday. I found out when the auction, or I found out that it was an auction, cash auction on Monday. And then I found out Tuesday morning that I needed to bid on it Tuesday. So
talk about pressure.
I had no, well, it's also, I was like, let's just do it. Let's see what happens.
Sure. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. I mean, so I bid on it. And when I looked at the pictures, I was like, this looks all aesthetic. This looks like if you can see the roof or the ceiling behind me, this was all peeling before. All the walls were peeling. When I take you through some of the rooms, you'll be able to see like what it looked like before I got into it. So I started renovating room by room. So when I saw the pictures, I was like, that looks aesthetic. That doesn't look that bad. How bad could it be?